Now, this is perhaps a little more extreme than what some of us experience, but perhaps not that different than what a lot of us experienced in terms of lying there and nobody coming to attend to our needs. So that experience, again, no matter what gender or culture you are, is in so many of us. And it fuels so much of our adult control patterns, of our, I'm strong, I don't need anything, or the only way I'll get something is to keep grabbing after it. And of course, by this grab, you know, she will create people running away from her. And I won't even talk about Dave's patterns right now, but you can imagine that they fit just perfectly, because that's what we, you know, I'll just say it really briefly. He grew up in a family where everybody depended on him. Even as a child, the parents were kind of incompetent, and so he had to be big way before his time, and one of his control patterns then was to kind of build a wall around himself, so he was inaccessible, to first try to hide in the bathroom, but eventually just become unresponsive. That's a pretty heavy-duty control pattern. Call it the strong, silent type. And of course, this is going to really attract Allison, because she needed to go back. We all need to go back and heal that stuff. And this button between the two of them, okay, so it's a recurring power struggle. You know the story. You've been there, most of you. People will say, well, I must be in a dysfunctional relationship. I must be with somebody who I shouldn't be with. No, it's just that we don't have the skills yet to know how to work with that consciously. It really is a perfect relationship, as long as they're working with me. I mean, and it's working for them, and it's hard work. But many of the couples that have been working with me, even only for 6 months, are able to actually, in the middle of an intense button pushing, you this, you that, I'm out of here, will be able to push pause. And they actually learn to say this. Somebody learns to say, can we push pause? I'm getting a button pushed. And that's the signal for that person to start feeling and stop reacting, stop behaving, and just see what's going on in me. Let's feel my bodily sensations. Let's calm down enough to see where's the little one inside? Where does this take me? Very often when you feel these kind of sensations and feelings, you will get an image or a memory. It probably won't be the most pivotal memory, but you'll get some kind of a memory of a time when the little one was in pain. And I'll just guide people to feel with, to be with that little one in a loving way. And it's not to say everything's going to be all right or make any promises or verbal reassurances, although one verbal reassurance works pretty well, which is I'm with you. But it's a be with kind of a process. It's not we're going to get out of this or we're going to get better. Nothing gets healed by being banished. It gets healed by being included, so that all these shadow parts that some of us are critical of and wish we didn't have and try to push away, all these shadow parts come into right relationship with the rest of us, because there are other parts of us too that are nurturing and loving, that can relate to the deprived or the suspicious, the mistrustful, fearful little one. So when all our parts come in right relationship, something changes about your ability to open to love. See, the only way to self-trust is this path. People talk about trust, and what they usually mean by trust is, I want to be able to trust you not to hurt me. Well, give it up. That's not what we're here for. If you hurt me, if you did something that hurt me, then that means there's already pain inside of me that's incomplete, that's waiting to be felt and healed. And the only way I have found to be able to do that is in intimate relationships. It takes a person that I'm really attracted to push those buttons. I don't get them pushed at work or with my brothers or that sort of thing. Some of us get our buttons pushed everywhere, so maybe you don't need an intimate relationship. And you know, I wrote this book recently called Truth in Dating, because I train people, I train groups of singles in the dating world, and I have found that the dating world is full of fear. We're all afraid of each other. It made me so sad to discover this, because I don't come from there anymore, and I sometimes forget where the general public is at. And now I've got people who are just going out on first dates starting to notice when their buttons are getting pushed and starting to talk about that and talking about it in, you know, 2-hour workshops. So it's happening. And just the fact that you could all raise your hands and say, yes, I know I have a button about this and I know I have a button about that, this gives me hope that we are up-leveling our self-awareness. I know we are, because as I said, I've been doing this work on buttons consciously and teaching it since the 1980s. So, you know, the audiences weren't that sophisticated 25 years ago. So we're doing good. We are evolving. So I think maybe now would be a good time to ask for a volunteer. No, I have to do an experiential exercise first before I can ask the volunteer, because you have to get ready to come up here. Now, did somebody have a question?
No, I was already volunteering.
You're volunteering. Oh, good. Okay, hold that energy. Yeah.
Dr. Truth, you taught me last night.
Thank you. Thank you. Just jump in, right? Well, risk-taking is also how you learn to trust yourself. Because no matter, well, every time you step into the unknown, like you're about to do, you always survive. And I was talking about safety a minute ago, and I think I do want to complete that thought. Safety is an inside job. Safety comes when you know how to comfort yourself when you're in pain. Not when you expect the environment to conform to your comfort zone. And we have all these control patterns because we're trying to keep the world comfortable and safe for us. These judging, being a smart little kid, going invisible so nobody will reject me or criticize me, over-talking so no one will misunderstand me, all of those patterns. And when you work on this enough, you just come to see how automatic you are. I still see, you know, after doing this work for so long, I still see so many automatic patterns, including the explaining one. So I invite you to take this on as a real exciting adventure, to notice those control patterns, to notice when those buttons are getting pushed, and to invite some people into your life as conscious practice partners. We're here to help each other wake up. We're here to be able to say, you know, I got a button pushed when you said that. Or last night when you walked out of the room, I said, yeah, see you tomorrow, but what was really going on inside of me was, that hurts me. I'm imagining that he doesn't care about me as much as I care about him. So what I wished I'd said was, and this is one of the truth skills that I teach in the book Getting Real, 10 truth skills you need to live an authentic life. One of the truth skills is, when you're phony at night, you can come back the next morning and revise it. And you can say, what I wished I'd said was, I'm getting a button pushed. I think my rejection button's getting pushed now. And I'm imagining that you're not loving me as much as I love you. I think I need some reassurance. Something like that, where you go back and you actually, that's the truth skill. You actually go back the next day or the next week or the next year when you realize, gee, I wasn't as present to myself and the reality of what was going on as I could have been, but I'm more present to it now, so I can go back and actually speak the words that I now understand were down there being buried. So that's the safety idea. You are comfortable enough with your buttons. You're aware enough not to reject yourself for having these things, because you know everybody has them. You're not trying to cover up and say, oh, you shouldn't have done this, you used the wrong tone of voice. Those are all just patterns to keep you from feeling what you felt. Now, there could come the question, abusive relationships and all of that, and I think I don't want to deal with that right now because we have a limited amount of time, but if we have Q&A in a little while, but that would, if I was sitting in the audience, I might think, well, what about relationships that really aren't good for you? And yes, there are some, okay? Just let me leave it at that. Once you start fully feeling yourself and taking responsibility that, okay, I really don't like this situation. I'm really hurting. I can really comfort myself in this pain. But once you fully own all your feelings and stop thinking about how that person is abusive, that person should be different, I shouldn't be doing this, or maybe they'll change if I'm just nicer, or whatever you do to appease or judge or feel on top of the situation. When you start being more on your own side of the net, and that's one of my other true skills, is you always learn to keep your attention on your own side of the net rather than worrying about what they're doing over there. Once you've learned that, to look within, you know what's best for you. You take the action you need to take to mark the boundaries that you need to mark. Okay, so nobody then has to tell you you shouldn't be in that relationship. But you've got to do this inner work before you trust yourself enough